Jackson Trent was not a hero. He was a worker, a problem solver, and a man who liked his jobs quiet. On most days, he was sent to fix things that nobody else wanted to touch. Broken ships, damaged satellites, old space stations about to fall apart. He never looked for trouble, and he never made friends with danger. That's why Jackson was not worried when his boss called him with a new job. The mission sounded simple. Go to the old Argus 9 space station, pick up a data chip, and get out before the radiation storm hit. Just another day at work, Jackson told himself as he climbed into his small battered shuttle. He didn't know then that everything was about to change. Argus 9 was once a busy place, full of scientists and engineers. Now, it was empty. The lights flickered, and the air was cold. Jackson walked slowly through the dark halls, his boots echoing on the metal floor. He checked his scanner. No signs of life. Just silence and the hum of machines waiting to die. Jackson reached the command room and found the safe where the data chip was supposed to be. He started working on the lock. His hands moved fast, guided by years of practice. Easy job, he thought. But then, something strange happened. His radio crackled. Jackson frowned. It was not his boss, and it was not a normal message. He heard a soft, trembling voice, speaking a language he did not understand. It was a cry for help. It was so weak, he almost thought it was just the wind. But then he heard it again, clearer this time. Someone was hiding in the station. Jackson paused. He should have ignored it. His job was to take the chip and leave, but he remembered the fear in the voice. Against his better judgment, Jackson picked up his flashlight and followed the sound. The halls grew darker and colder as he moved deeper into the station. Pipes creaked. Something small ran across the floor behind him, making Jackson jump. He forced himself to keep walking. "It's nothing," he whispered, but the feeling in his chest said something was very wrong. Finally, he reached a narrow maintenance tunnel. The voice was louder here, but still weak. Jackson bent down and peered inside. In the shadows, he saw a pair of bright eyes staring back at him. They were not human eyes. The figure was small and wrapped in a silver cloak. The face was strange, almost beautiful, but different from any person Jackson had ever seen. The eyes were full of fear. "Don't be afraid," Jackson said softly. He held out his hand. The figure hesitated, then crawled a little closer. In that moment, Jackson realized this was no simple mission. He had found someone, something important, and he knew he could not just walk away. Jackson stayed still, kneeling by the narrow tunnel. The small figure inside did not move, only watched him with wide, shining eyes. Jackson saw fear, but also hope, as if the person had been waiting for someone to come. He tried to smile, though his heart was racing. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm not here to hurt you." The figure's cloak shimmered in the flashlight's beam. Slowly, small hands pulled the hood back, and Jackson saw her face. A young girl, but not a human girl. Her skin was light blue, her hair like silver threads, and her eyes glowed with a golden ring. She looked tired and scared, but she did not look away. Jackson set his tool bag on the floor, showing he had no weapons. "My name is Jackson. I'm here to help," he said carefully, not sure if she understood. The girl listened, her body tense. Then she pointed to her throat and shook her head. Maybe she could not speak his language. Jackson searched his pockets and found a translator device. He placed it on the ground between them and turned it on. "Try speaking," he said, hoping she would understand. The girl pressed a button. Her words came out broken and soft, but Jackson heard them through the machine. "Please, don't tell. Hide, please." Jackson nodded. "I won't tell anyone," he promised. He wondered how long she had been here alone, hiding in the dark, afraid of every noise. Suddenly, the station lights flickered and alarms blared in the distance. The radiation storm was coming closer. Jackson knew he had little time left to finish his mission, But now he had a new problem. He could not leave this girl behind. He looked at her and said, "We need to go. It's not safe here." The girl shook her head. "Hunters, looking for me. Must hide." Jackson's mind raced. Hunters, who would hunt a child? He remembered stories of alien wars, but never thought he would meet someone caught in the middle. Jackson made a quick plan. First, get the data chip, then get out with the girl. He told her, "Stay close to me. I can protect you." She nodded, still afraid but trusting him now, just a little. They moved through the dark halls together. Jackson kept his eyes open for danger and tried to walk quietly. Every sound made them jump. The groan of metal, the hum of broken machines, their own footsteps. At the control room, Jackson worked fast. He opened the safe and grabbed the data chip. The girl watched everything with careful eyes, clutching her silver cloak tightly. Just as Jackson finished, a loud crash echoed through the station. The girl gasped and hid behind him. Jackson turned, ready for anything. He realized now that his life had changed. It was not just a simple job. He was part of something much bigger, and he could not turn back. The noise from the hallway made Jackson's heart pound. He pulled the alien girl behind a broken console and turned off his flashlight. For a moment, everything was quiet again, except for the sound of the girl's shaky breathing. Jackson gently placed his hand on her shoulder to calm her. "Don't worry," he whispered, but even he was not sure what might come through that door next. Then footsteps echoed down the metal corridor, slow, searching. Jackson held his breath and kept his body low. The girl stayed close, clutching his arm. As the steps passed by the command room, Jackson peeked through a crack in the wall. He saw a shadow, big, armored, and carrying a strange-looking gun. Whoever was looking for them was not friendly. Jackson waited until the footsteps faded away, then slowly stood up. The girl's golden eyes watched him, full of fear and something else, maybe trust. He realized he had to know who she really was and why someone would hunt her in such a dangerous place. He knelt down and spoke into the translator. "Who are you? Why are they chasing you?" The girl hesitated, then nodded slowly. She took out a small, shining pendant from under her cloak. The pendant had a symbol, a silver star, and a blue crystal. She showed it to Jackson and spoke, her voice trembling. "My name is Lyra. I am daughter of the Queen. My mother was the ruler of Endarian Empire." She paused, searching for words. "There was a war. Bad people wanted to take power. My mother was forced to run. She sent me away to keep me safe. But the hunters found me." Jackson felt a shock run through him. The Andarian Empire was powerful and mysterious. He remembered news reports about their queen's disappearance, but nobody knew she had a daughter, or that she was still alive. Lyra continued, "If they find me, they will use me. They want my mother to give up. I cannot go back home." Jackson's mind raced. This was no ordinary rescue. If the wrong people got Lyra, it could start a war. If he helped her, he would be hunted too. But Jackson saw the hope in Lyra's eyes, and he knew he could not leave her behind. He gave her a gentle smile. "You are safe with me," he promised. "We will get out of here together." Lyra looked relieved, but still worried. "Where will we go?" she asked. Jackson thought fast. "First, we need to reach my ship. It's small, but fast. We can hide there until we think of a plan." Just then, the station shook as the radiation storm hit. Alarms blared again, and red lights flashed everywhere. Jackson grabbed Lyra's hand. "Let's go now," he said. They ran through the twisting halls, dodging falling wires and broken doors. Behind them, the sound of footsteps grew louder. Jackson knew he was no longer alone. The mission was no longer simple, but for the first time in years, he felt something new, a purpose worth fighting for. Jackson gripped Lyra's hand tightly as they hurried through the broken halls of Argus 9. The red warning lights flashed, painting everything in a strange glow. The whole space station shook from the storm outside. Pipes rattled. Sparks jumped from loose wires. Every sound seemed louder and more dangerous. As they turned a corner, Jackson paused to catch his breath. He looked at Lara. She was brave, but she was tired. Her blue skin looked pale in the emergency lights. "We have to move fast," Jackson said quietly. "The hunters are still here. They know someone else is on the station now." He pulled out his scanner, hoping for a safe path to his ship. The screen flickered. There were 3 moving dots, hunters, searching the lower decks. They were getting closer. "Stay behind me," Jackson whispered. He took a side path, leading Lyra through an old storage area filled with broken crates and metal parts. He knew every shortcut and hidden corner from years of missions. Still, the hunters were fast. Suddenly, a door slammed open behind them. Heavy footsteps echoed through the storage room. Jackson pressed Lyra against the wall and held a finger to his lips. They barely breathed as the hunters marched past. Large, armored aliens with glowing eyes, speaking in a rough, angry language. One stopped, sniffed the air, then moved on. Jackson waited until the room was quiet again. Lyra's hands shook. "They won't stop," she said softly. Jackson nodded. "They won't, but I promise they won't catch you either." They moved quickly, dodging piles of junk and crawling through a narrow maintenance tunnel. Jackson's ship was close, just 2 levels above. He kept checking his scanner. The hunters seemed to know their target had changed. They were moving faster, blocking the main exit. Jackson realized something. His mission was no longer about a data chip. It was about Lara. Now he was the target too. The hunters wanted both of them. As they reached the last hallway, an alarm blared. Someone had found Jackson's shuttle. He and Lyra rushed forward, but a hunter appeared, blocking the door. The alien was huge and covered in metal armor. Jackson acted quickly. He grabbed a broken pipe from the floor and threw it across the hall. The loud crash made the hunter turn away for just a second. Jackson pushed Lyra forward. "Go! Run to the ship." Lyra sprinted, Jackson right behind her. More hunters ran from the other side. Jackson ducked under their arms, pulling Lyra through the open hatch of his ship. He slammed the door shut just in time. Inside, alarms still blared. Jackson jumped into the pilot's seat, fingers flying over the controls. "Hold on," he shouted. The engines roared, and the ship shook as it pulled free from the dying station. Through the window, Jackson saw the hunters left behind, their faces angry and helpless. Jackson knew everything had changed. The simple mission was over. Now, his only goal was to keep Lyra safe, no matter what. Jackson's ship jumped into space, leaving the damaged Argus 9 behind. He wiped sweat from his forehead and looked at Lyra. She was still trembling, but her eyes held a spark of hope. "We made it," he said softly. "For now." But Jackson knew their fight was far from over. His scanner beeped urgently. "Hunters ahead," Jackson said, eyes narrowing. He zoomed in on the screen. 2 ships, fast, armed, and dangerous, were closing in. Jackson recognized them immediately. The Iron Vultures, a ruthless group of mercenaries known across the galaxy for hunting rare targets and selling them to the highest bidder. "They want you, Lyra," Jackson said grimly, "and they don't play fair." Lyra looked at him, her small hands clenched. "We can't run forever," she whispered. Jackson shook his head. "Not if we're smart." He switched the ship's controls to manual and guided them toward a nearby asteroid field. "Stay low and fast. These rocks will hide us better than open space." The vultures chased them without hesitation, their ships blazing with weapons. The first few shots missed by inches, lighting up the darkness. Jackson's hands moved steady and sure. He knew every trick in the book. As they entered the asteroid field, the Iron Vultures followed. Jackson twisted the ship through narrow gaps between massive rocks, dodging falling debris and sharp edges. The ship shook from close calls, But Jackson stayed calm. Lyra gripped the seat. "This is scary," she admitted. Jackson smiled. "Good. You should be scared." Suddenly, one of the Vulture's ships fired a net cannon, trying to trap Jackson's ship. The net spread wide and fast, but Jackson hit the thrusters, powering up just in time to break free. Sparks flew as the net tore apart. "That was close," Jackson muttered. The Vultures were relentless. Another ship closed in, firing a laser beam that scorched the side of Jackson's ship. The hull groaned under the damage. Jackson's mind raced. They needed a plan. He spotted an abandoned mining station hidden inside a large asteroid. "There," he pointed. "We can hide inside the station." The ship hurtled toward the station's small entrance. Jackson maneuvered with skill, slipping inside just before the Vultures could react. Inside, the station was dark and full of old machines. Jackson powered down the ship's engines to avoid detection. Outside, the Vultures circled, frustrated. Lyra looked at Jackson, eyes wide. "How long can we stay here?" Jackson shook his head. "Not long, but it gives us time to think." He pulled out a small device and began repairing the damaged hull. "We need to be ready when they come back." Lyra sat quietly, watching him work. Jackson realized something important. This mission was no longer just about survival. It was about protecting a future, hers, his, and maybe the whole galaxy. And he wasn't going to let the Iron Vultures win. The old mining station was dark and cold. Jackson worked quietly on the ship's damaged hull, his hands steady but his mind restless. Lyra sat nearby, watching him with curiosity and worry. Neither spoke much. The silence was heavy. Jackson finally looked up. "You need to tell me more about your people," he said gently. "If we're going to get through this, I need to understand who you are and why they want you so badly." Lyra's golden eyes flickered with hesitation. She looked away and fiddled with her silver cloak. "My mother was queen of the Andarian Empire, but she lost power. Many want her gone forever. They say I am dangerous." Jackson nodded slowly. "Dangerous? Because you are her daughter?" "Yes. I carry a secret that could change everything. If the wrong people get it, the whole galaxy could fall into war." Her voice was soft but strong. Jackson felt the weight of her words. He had faced many dangers before, but this was different. This was not just about fights or money. It was about lives, futures, and hope. "We're not safe here," Jackson said. "The Iron Vultures will come back, and there may be others hunting you." Lyra's eyes showed fear. "Who can I trust?" Jackson fought hard. He had always worked alone, trusted few people. But now, with Lyra depending on him, things were different. "I don't know who to trust," Jackson admitted. "But I do know one thing. I will protect you, no matter what." Lyra smiled faintly. "Thank you, Jackson." Suddenly, the ship's scanner beeped loudly. Jackson jumped to his feet and grabbed the device. "Ships approaching," he said. "Not the Vultures. Someone else." The ship's small monitor showed 3 sleek vessels entering the asteroid's outer orbit. They were military ships, fast, silent, and organized. Jackson's heart sank. "These are Andarian ships," he said quietly. "They could be friends or enemies." Lyra stood up. "They want me. They might want to take me home or capture me." Jackson made a quick decision. "We have to meet them. Maybe they can help." He opened a channel on the comm system and sent a message. "This is Jackson Trent. I have Lyra Andarian with me. We want to talk." The response was quick but cold. "Identify yourself and your intentions." Jackson explained the situation carefully. After tense moments, the lead ship's captain replied, "We will send a shuttle. Prepare to receive." Lyra looked scared but nodded. Jackson helped her to the airlock. As they waited, he whispered, "Trust is a risk, but sometimes it's the only way forward." The airlock hissed, and the shuttle docked. The door opened slowly, and armed soldiers stepped inside. Their faces were serious but not hostile. The captain stepped forward and said, "Lyra, we are here to protect you." Jackson watched carefully, knowing this was just the beginning. Trust was fragile, and the true test was yet to come. Jackson sat in the pilot's seat, gripping the controls tightly. The small shuttle slipped out of the mining station and into the vast darkness of space. Lyra sat beside him, her eyes fixed on the stars, but her mind far away. The Andarian ships were close behind. They were faster, more powerful, and their intentions were still unclear. Jackson knew they had little time. The secret Lyra carried was too important, too dangerous, to let fall into the wrong hands. "We'd have to get through the nebula of shadows," Jackson said quietly. "It's the only way to lose them." Lyra nodded. "The nebula is dangerous. Many ships never come out." Jackson smiled grimly. "Good thing we're not many ships." They flew toward the swirling clouds of purple and black gases. The nebula looked beautiful but deadly. Lightning flashed inside the thick clouds, and strange energy bursts made the ship shake. "Hold on," Jackson warned. He guided the shuttle carefully, weaving between rocks and bursts of energy. The sensors flickered, warning of magnetic storms and hidden dangers. Suddenly, the ship jolted hard. A lightning bolt struck close, knocking out some controls. Jackson fought to steady the shuttle. Lyra grabbed his arm. "Can we make it?" Jackson's voice was steady. "We have to." The nebula was like a maze, dark and confusing. They dodged energy storms and floating debris. Every second, the Andarian ships pressed closer. Jackson reached for a small device. It was a signal jammer, something to hide their ship's location for a short time. He activated it, and the ship's signal disappeared from the scanners. The Andarian ship slowed, confused. Jackson took the chance to speed up and dive deeper into the nebula. Inside, the gases glowed around them, making strange shadows dance on the ship's walls. Lyra looked out the window, her face softening. "My mother once told me stories about this place. It's dangerous, but also full of hope." Jackson looked at her. "Sounds like us." Suddenly, the ship's alarms rang out. A missile locked onto them, fired by one of the Andarian pursuers. Jackson pushed the throttle, making a sharp turn just in time. The missile exploded behind them, lighting the nebula with fire. "We're not out yet," Jackson said. "They won't stop." Lyra took a deep breath. "I trust you, Jackson. Let's keep going." They pushed the shuttle harder, dodging more attacks and navigating the treacherous nebula. Every moment was a test of skill and courage. Finally, after what felt like hours, they saw the edge of the nebula, the open space beyond. Jackson smiled tiredly. "We made it." Lyra reached out and squeezed his hand. "Thank you." But Jackson knew their journey was far from over. The secret Lyra carried was still safe, but many dangers waited ahead. For now, they had won a small battle, but the war was just beginning. Jackson and Lyra had been hiding in the small colony on the edge of the galaxy for days. The dusty mining outpost was quiet, full of rusted machines and forgotten memories. It was the perfect place to rest and plan their next move. Jackson trusted no one. He kept his eyes open and his weapons ready. Lyra stayed close, learning how to blend in with the outpost's misfit children, orphans, scavengers, and dreamers who had nowhere else to go. For a while, they felt safe. But trust is a fragile thing. One evening, a stranger arrived. He was smooth-talking, wearing the uniform of a galactic trader. His eyes held a sharp gleam, and Jackson didn't like him from the start. The stranger called himself Ral. He said he had heard of Lyra and wanted to help her get home. He promised safe passage through dangerous space and protection from the hunters. Jackson was suspicious. "What do you want in return?" he asked. Ral smiled. "Nothing but a little company. And maybe some information. That's all." Jackson didn't believe him. Still, with no better options, they agreed to let Raoul guide them. At first, everything seemed fine. Raoul knew secret routes and hidden stations. He was friendly with the outpost's locals and offered food and supplies. Lyra even smiled again. But late one night, Jackson heard whispers, voices in the dark. He slipped out and followed them to an old warehouse. There, he saw Raoul speaking with a group of hunters, the Iron Vultures. Jackson's blood ran cold. Raoul was selling them out. He quickly returned to warn Lyra. "We have to leave now," he said urgently. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "I trusted him." Jackson nodded. "Me too, but we can't stay." They packed what little they had and slipped into the shadows. Outside, the Iron Vulture's ships landed with loud engines and flashing lights. Jackson led Lyra through hidden tunnels and abandoned shafts. The hunters were close behind, calling out for the Queen's daughter. The chase was dangerous. They ran through narrow corridors and climbed old ladders, their breaths heavy. At the edge of the outpost, they found an old robot, broken and rusted, but still alive. Jackson quickly repaired it, and the robot beeped happily. He named it Sprocket. With Sprocket's help, they created distractions, knocking over crates, setting off alarms, and confusing their pursuers. The Iron Vultures grew angry and frustrated. Jackson saw a chance. "We'll split up. I'll lead them away. You escape with Sprocket." Lyra shook her head. "No, we stick together." Jackson smiled. "You're stronger than you look." Together, they made a break for an emergency shuttle hidden in the outpost hangar. As they lifted off, Jackson glanced back. The Iron Vultures were still searching, but their chance to catch Lyra was slipping away. For now, they were safe. But Jackson knew the betrayal had changed everything. Trust would be harder to find, and the road ahead even more dangerous. Jackson's ship flew fast through the stars. Ahead lay the Queen's Gate, a secret portal hidden in a remote asteroid belt. It was said to be the last safe place for Lyra's mother's loyal followers. If they could reach it, they might find help and safety. But they were not alone. The Andarian fleet was close behind, and the Iron Vultures were still hunting them. Time was running out. Lyra sat beside Jackson, clutching the silver pendant with the blue crystal. Her golden eyes shone with hope and fear. "We have to get through the gate," she said softly. "It is our only chance." Jackson nodded. "We'll fight if we have to." As they approached the asteroid belt, sensors warned of many ships waiting. The area was heavily guarded. Jackson scanned the area, looking for a weak spot. Suddenly, a fleet of Andarian warships appeared, blocking their path. Their leader's voice came through the radio, cold and firm. "Lyra Andarian, surrender now. You will be safe with us." Jackson frowned. "Safe? I don't believe that." Lyra's face tightened. "My mother taught me to be careful. I don't know if I can trust them." Jackson looked at her. "We don't have a choice. We have to try." He activated the ship's comm. "We want to talk, not fight." The Andarian leader hesitated. After tense moments, he agreed to let them dock at a small station near the gate. Inside the station, Jackson and Lyra met with the Loyalists, fighters and leaders who still believed in the Queen's cause. They welcomed Lyra like a lost princess returned. But danger was close. The Iron Vultures attacked the station suddenly, their ships firing lasers and missiles. Alarms blared. The battle had begun. Jackson grabbed a blaster and joined the Loyalists to defend the station. Lyra helped coordinate the defense, her knowledge of the Empire's secrets proving valuable. The fight was fierce. Explosions rocked the station. Jackson's heart pounded as he faced the Iron Vultures in close combat. They were ruthless, but Jackson's skill and determination kept him alive. Lyra moved with confidence, inspiring the defenders. "We fight for the future," she shouted. Slowly, the tide turned. The Iron Vulture's ships were damaged and forced to retreat. The Loyalists cheered. Jackson looked at Lyra, proud. "You did it." Lyra smiled, tired but strong. "We did it." But the battle was not over. The Andarian fleet still controlled the space beyond the gate. Jackson knew more challenges awaited. For now, they had won a place to stand, a chance to build a new future. As the station's lights returned to normal, Jackson whispered, "This is just the beginning." Lyra nodded, holding her mother's pendant tightly. "Together, we will change everything." The battle at the Queen's Gate was over. The Loyalists had won a hard-fought victory, and for the first time in many years, hope filled the hearts of those who still believed in the Andarian Empire's future. Jackson stood on the station's observation deck, watching stars drift slowly past. Lyra stood beside him, holding her mother's pendant close. The weight of the past and the promise of tomorrow rested on their shoulders. "We did what many thought impossible," Lyra said softly. "We brought the people together again." Jackson nodded. "But this is just the start. The galaxy won't change overnight." Lyra looked out at the distant stars. "My mother taught me that hope is stronger than fear. We will rebuild the Empire, not with war, but with trust and courage." Jackson smiled. He had never been a man of grand plans or dreams, but he believed in Lyra. He believed in what she stood for. A message came through the station's comm. It was from the Human Council, offering support and a new alliance. The humans had watched from afar and now wanted to stand with the Andarian Loyalists. Jackson's eyes lit up. "This is bigger than we thought." Lyra smiled. "A new future for both our peoples." Jackson turned to her. "What will you do now?" Lyra paused. "I will lead. I must. But I want you by my side, Jackson. Not as a soldier, but as a partner." Jackson was surprised. For years, he had been a lone man, drifting through missions and jobs. Now he had a purpose, a reason to stay. "I'm in," he said simply. Together, they walked through the station's halls, greeted by cheers and hopeful faces. Children who once feared the future now smiled. Adults who had lost faith now believed again. Jackson felt something he hadn't in a long time: belonging. Outside, the stars shone brightly. Ships from many worlds gathered, ready to build peace and friendship. Lyra looked up at the sky. It was just a mission once. But now, everything has changed. Jackson smiled. For the better. And so, a new chapter began. One where humans and Andarians stood together, not as enemies, but as allies. A future built on hope, trust, and the courage to change.